Now, files declassified in America have revealed covert public relations and lobbying activities of Israel in the U.S. The National Archive made the documents public following a Senate investigation. They suggest Israel has been trying to shape media coverage of issues it regards as important. You can download these files from the website of the Institute for Research on Middle Eastern Policy. And we can now cross to Washington and talk to Grant F. Smith, who is the director of this institute. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Smith. I'd like to begin by asking you, what exactly do these files reveal?
These files are from a sealed Senate investigation, which was the result of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and the U.S. Department of Justice looking into groups that brought $36 million into the U.S. to plant stories in the U.S. media and promote Israeli foreign policy objectives in the United States. They're extremely relevant because they revealed, for example, a vast effort to divert U.S. attention from the Israeli Dimona nuclear weapons facility by saying it was merely a research center. They carefully tracked how that story was playing in the U.S. media. And they also were using outlets such as The Atlantic magazine, funneling $50,000 into that magazine in a major effort to disrupt a U.S. peace proposal, which would have involved bringing some Palestinian refugees and allowing them to return to their homes and properties in Israel. The interesting thing about these, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what about the media, their side? How susceptible are they to Israeli lobbying?
Well, this reveals essentially that major U.S. publications that were on the receiving end of the $36 million really fell into line for a whole host of initiatives. Now, the Senate investigation was a failure, and they essentially heavily censored the Senate transcript and then put all of these extremely damning files into sealed records for years and years so that nobody could really see what was going on. And unfortunately, the groups that were involved in this, they were ultimately forced to register as foreign agents and disclose their activities. They simply transferred all of these activities into a group called the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. So it's extremely enlightening for Americans to see how media influence functions by looking at internal documents from this investigation.
Well, it also makes you ask, how much will Americans really see if the U.S. media is so affected by these lobbyists, no?
Well, yeah, that's exactly the case, because once again, you know, we're replaying history. Now, instead of trying to divert attention away from nuclear weapons in the Middle East, a magazine, again, The Atlantic, is on the forefront of an AIPAC drive to get the United States to attack Iran's nuclear facilities, again, now under the pretext that they're nuclear weapons sites. So for the United States, it's extremely important for people to see this media influence and the mechanics of it, because over the passage of time, this has only gotten worse.
What does this suggest about U.S. policy in the Middle East? Is it being shaped around the interest of Israel as you see it?
Well, we've done a lot of work over the years obtaining documents about Israeli policy initiatives in the United States. And the documentary record suggests a heavy influence on the part of Israeli politicians and various parastatal groups that work tightly with Israel without disclosing those relationships. They have successfully built a campaign financing system in the United States that's extremely effective at pushing Israeli objectives by withholding or dispersing campaign funding to U.S. politicians. So there is a high degree of control that's in place, but for your average American, it's almost completely hidden.
Interesting stuff. Grant F. Smith, Director of the Institute for Research on Middle Eastern Policy, thank you very much for your time.